You have tried to leave. Maybe you have actually left more than once. And every single time, something pulls you back. Not logic, not even love, not really. Something deeper. Something that feels like survival itself is at stake. Your friends do not understand. They tell you to just walk away. As if it is that simple. As if your legs are not made of concrete. As if your chest is not caving in. As if you're not waking up at 3 a.m. drenched in sweat, heart pounding, unable to breathe. You have Googled it. Am I having a heart attack? Why does my body hurt? Why do I feel like I am dying? Here is what nobody told you. You are not being dramatic. You are not weak. You are not crazy. What you're experiencing has a name. It is called trauma bond withdrawal. And neurologically, it is nearly identical to withdrawing from cocaine. Welcome to Predator Psychology, where we decode the minds that manipulate and arm the minds that heal. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why leaving feels like dying. Not metaphorically, literally. Your brain is going through withdrawal. Your nervous system is in crisis. Your sense of self has been so thoroughly hijacked that walking away means walking into a void where you used to exist. And I am going to show you why understanding this is the first step to surviving it. Let me be clear about what we are dealing with here. The sensation of dying when you leave an abusive relationship is not a figure of speech. It is not an exaggeration. It is a measurable, documented neurobiological event. Researchers at Rutgers University put people who had recently been rejected by romantic partners into fMRI machines and watched their brains. What they found changed everything we understood about heartbreak. The brain regions that lit up, the ventral tegmental area and the nucleus accumbens, were the exact same regions that activate during cocaine craving. Not similar regions. The same regions. Let that sink in. Your brain does not distinguish between losing your partner and losing access to a drug. To your nervous system, they are the same threat, the same emergency, the same withdrawal. But here is where it gets worse. In healthy relationships, your brain eventually habituates. The dopamine system calms down. Love becomes stable, predictable, secure. In abusive relationships, habituation never happens. Because the abuse cycle, the constant alternation between cruelty and affection, keeps your dopamine system in a permanent state of anticipation. This is called intermittent reinforcement. And it is the most powerful conditioning mechanism ever discovered. Behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner proved decades ago that unpredictable rewards create the strongest behavioral responses. This is why gambling is addictive. This is why slot machines are designed around uncertainty. And this is why the cycle of abuse and reconciliation creates bonds that are stronger, not weaker, than bonds formed in healthy relationships. Think about it. In a stable relationship, you get consistent love. Your brain adapts. The dopamine returns to baseline. In an abusive relationship, you never know when the good version is coming back. So your brain stays hypervigilant, waiting, hoping, chasing that next hit of relief when they finally apologize, when they finally hold you again, when they finally become the person they were in the beginning. That relief, that is dopamine flooding your system at levels a healthy relationship could never produce. And when you leave, that supply gets cut off entirely. What happens next is withdrawal, real physiological withdrawal. Anhedonia, which is the clinical term for being unable to feel pleasure from anything. Obsessive thoughts about your abuser that you cannot stop no matter how hard you try. Intense cravings to go back just to make the pain stop. Difficulty concentrating on anything except what you lost. Sound familiar? It should. These are the same symptoms reported by people withdrawing from opioids. But the dopamine crash is only part of the story. Your stress response system has also been hijacked. The HPA axis, your body's central stress regulation system, becomes chronically dysregulated during abuse. You live in a state of elevated cortisol, hypervigilance, impaired thinking, suppressed immune function. Your body is constantly bracing for the next blow. Logically, leaving should reduce stress. You're escaping danger. Your cortisol should drop. Except that is not what happens. Research shows that cortisol actually surges higher during separation than during the abuse itself. Your brain interprets loss of an attachment figure, even an abusive one, as a survival threat. Evolution shaped human neurobiology to prioritize attachment above almost everything else. Our ancestors who maintained bonds survived. Those who wandered off alone died. This ancient programming does not distinguish between a nurturing partner and an abusive one. It just knows you are alone now, and to your nervous system, alone means death. This is why leaving feels more dangerous than staying. This is why your body screams at you to go back. This is why you cannot trust your own instincts right now. Your instincts are calibrated for a world where losing your tribe meant being eaten by predators. They are not calibrated for escaping psychological abuse. On top of the cortisol surge, there is another chemical at play. Oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. It is released during physical touch, during intimacy, during eye contact, including during the reconciliation phases of abuse, when they apologize, when they hold you, when they cry and promise to change. Oxytocin receptors in your brain have linked your abuser with feelings of safety and reward. When they are gone, your brain experiences oxytocin withdrawal. This manifests as intense longing, physical aching in your chest, a desperate drive to reconnect, regardless of whether the relationship was good for you. There is a reason they call it heartbreak. Your heart is actually involved. Broken heart syndrome, clinically known as Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, is a real medical condition where emotional trauma causes the heart muscle to temporarily weaken. 90% of patients are female. Domestic abuse is explicitly listed as a triggering factor. The emotional pain of leaving can literally damage your heart. Research on intimate partner violence survivors found that over 83% experienced headaches, over 77% had back pain, over 70% had sleep disruption, and over 52% experienced chest pain. These are not psychosomatic symptoms in some dismissive sense. These are your body's genuine physiological response to what it perceives as a life-threatening emergency. But there is something even deeper happening, something that explains why this pain feels existential, why it feels like you're not just losing a relationship, but losing yourself. Narcissistic abuse systematically erodes identity. It has to. For the abuser to maintain control, you have to stop trusting your own perceptions. You have to abandon your own needs. You have to become an extension of them rather than a person in your own right. Over time, your thoughts become their thoughts. Your feelings become suspect. Your opinions become wrong. Your boundaries become attacks. Until one day you look in the mirror and you do not recognize the person looking back. Researchers call this phenomenon self-concept disruption. When relationships end, people literally describe feeling smaller, like part of themselves has been amputated. In healthy relationships, this is painful but manageable. In abusive relationships, the loss is catastrophic because you did not just share life with this person. You surrendered your entire identity to them. When you leave, you're not just grieving the relationship. You are grieving the person you used to be before them. You are grieving the future you thought you would have. You are grieving the version of them that never actually existed, the one they showed you in the beginning to get you hooked. Sam Vaknin, a researcher who studies narcissism from the inside, describes something chilling. He calls it the introject. The narcissist, he explains, never truly leaves. They install a voice inside your head, a representation of themselves that continues talking, criticizing, driving, obstructing, inhibiting you long after physical separation. This internal takeover, he says, is the most harrowing aspect of narcissistic abuse. You're not just fighting the urge to go back to them, you are fighting the version of them that now lives inside you, telling you that you are nothing without them, that you will never find anyone else, that you are unlovable, that this pain proves you made a mistake. That voice is not yours. It was installed. Dr. Ramani Durvasula, a clinical psychologist who specializes in narcissistic abuse, talks about something called disenfranchised grief. This is grief that society does not acknowledge. When someone dies, there are rituals, funerals, sympathy cards, bereavement leave. People bring you casseroles and hold your hand. When you leave an abusive relationship, there is nothing, no acknowledgement, no validation. Often, there is confusion from others about why you're struggling so much. They cannot see the injury because there are no bruises. So your grief gets compounded by isolation, by the sense that you are overreacting, by the exhausting work of having to justify your pain. You are not overreacting. Your grief is real. The average survivor returns 7 times before leaving for good. 7 times. Not because they are stupid, not because they like being abused, because their neurobiology has been hijacked so completely that leaving triggers a survival response they cannot override with logic alone. Understanding this changes everything. You are not weak. You are withdrawing from one of the most powerful conditioning mechanisms ever documented. Your body is not betraying you. It is responding exactly as it was programmed to respond to perceived abandonment. Your pain is not proof that you made a mistake. It is proof that the trauma bond was real, and breaking it is an act of profound courage. So what do you do with this knowledge? First, treat this like the withdrawal it actually is. Remove cues that trigger craving. Photographs, songs, gifts, anything that activates the reward pathway. This is not about erasing memories. This is about not feeding the addiction while you're trying to break it. Second, maintain strict no contact. Any interaction reactivates the reward pathways, even negative interaction, even fighting. Your brain does not care if the contact is positive or negative. It just knows the source of dopamine is back. One text can reset weeks of progress. Third, understand that your nervous system needs time to recalibrate. Research shows attachment-related brain activation gradually decreases over months of sustained no contact. Not days, months. This is a marathon, not a sprint. The intensity you feel right now will not last forever, even though every cell in your body is screaming that it will. Fourth, replace the dopamine, not with another person, with activities that engage your reward system in healthy ways. Exercise, new experiences, creative projects, learning something new. Your brain needs alternative sources of the chemicals it is craving. Fifth, get support from people who understand. Trauma-informed therapists, support groups for abuse survivors, communities where your grief is recognized, not questioned. The isolation compounds the pain. Connection, real connection with people who see you clearly, helps heal it. And finally, know this. The death sensation is real, but it is not what it feels like. You are not dying. The trauma-bonded version of yourself is dying. The version that believed their lies. The version that needed their approval. The version that lost herself trying to keep them happy. That version is falling away. And underneath, the real you is still there. Waiting. Wounded, yes, but not destroyed. Recovery is not linear. Some days you will feel strong. Some days you will miss them so much you cannot breathe. Both things can be true. Both things are normal. You're not going backwards when the grief hits. You are just human. And being human means feeling the full weight of what was done to you before you can put it down. The pattern is the protection. Now you see it. You're not crazy. You never were. See you in the next one.